Edutainment, a term meaning media intending to be both educational and fun. As a kid growing up in the 90s, I was surrounded by great quality edutainment TV shows and video games. I had fun memories playing computer games such as Oregon Trail, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, Number Munchers, and Midnight Rescue. As for TV shows, Sesame Street, the Carmen Sandiego game shows, Bill Nye the Science Guy, and the Magic School Bus were highlights of my childhood hunger for knowledge and entertainment. But there's one particular show that meant a lot to me when I was a kid. The 1983 series Reading Rainbow. Presented by actor LeVar Burton, Reading Rainbow was an education television show where we would promote kids to reading books. Each episode had LeVar going to different locations where a book would be the central theme of discussion. At the end of every episode, various kids will be recommending other books that were like the main book.
All the animals in this book live in the Sonoran Desert in Arizona. It's a huge desert, 120,000 square miles. This book made me want to visit the desert, and I'm sure it'll do the same for you. So don't be dry and give it a try.
Fun fact, one of the kids was Ken Michael. Yeah, Darren Patterson from As Told by Ginger.
How would you like a board game at home whose characters come to life? Picture this. Rhinoceroses stampeding your living room, an 8-foot python wrapped around your fireplace. Why not try Jumanji?
Even celebrities from Whoopi Goldberg, Maya Angelou, Ed Asner, Richard Gere, and James Earl Jones will be reading the main book of the day.
This is the eagle who dropped a feather that helped to change the weather. It fell near Kipat, who watched his herd as he stood on one leg like the big stork bird. Kipat, whose cows were so hungry and dry, they moved for the rain to fall from the sky, to green up the grass, all brown and dead, that needed the rain from the cloud overhead.
The show lasted until 2006, and reruns continued until 2009. But in a way, Reading Rainbow never stopped production. In 2014, LeVar began a Kickstarter to revive the show with a goal of $1 million. It made that goal in 12 hours and in total raised over $5 million. LeVar Burton has his own podcast where he reads and recommends books. There's a documentary about Reading Rainbow that premiered around 2022. And even Reading Rainbow Live, an interactive virtual event for children with a focus on reading, music, and play. So yeah, Reading Rainbow has come a long way in 40 years. Today we're looking back on the original pilot of Reading Rainbow to see what similarities and changes occurred. So let's take a book in this episode of From Pilot to Final Product. Now we all remember the iconic theme song.
Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. Take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow.
But the pilot opens to something vastly different.
Pick up a book and open the cover. Turn a page and you'll discover a wonderful world with grandfather reads. A flip of the page can take you far. A magical journey, moon or Mars. Travel the world and sail the seas through wonderful books with grandfather reads.
It doesn't even have LeVar Burton as the host. Instead, it's some old guy named Grandfather Reads. Seriously, who is this guy? Maybe he's supposed to be LeVar Burton's dad, who knows? Instead of kids recommending the books to check out, the pilot features a puppet named Pedro the poetry-loving parrot. So heavy on the alliterations, are we, show? So the first episode has Pedro looking outside in his window for snow to fall. Grandfather Reads enters his room reciting a poem.
Old Man Winter came a-calling, brushing his beauty everywhere. He dressed tree limbs with snow. Oh, how they glowed. One couldn't help but stare. Now, spring is here. The sun shines bright. Old Man Winter is nowhere in sight. But please, do not cry. Summer will soon pass by. Autumn's cold breath will keep the leaves falling. Then it won't be long before once again, Old Man Winter comes a-calling.
No one reads poetry like you, Grandfather Reads. You're the best.
Well, thank you, Pedro.
Next morning, Pedro wakes up to find snow on the ground. He goes outside to play, builds a snowman, and recites a poem while doing it. Hey, it's in his name, so why not?
When One day when I went out to play, the sky turned completely gray. I had a feeling, you know, that it was about to snow. Yes, beautiful snow came down from above. It covered my little town and the people I love. It fell on my basketball goal. It fell on our telephone pole. It landed on the city dump. It landed on the water pump. It fell on the fence gate. Boy, isn't snow great?
After some snow fun, Pedro goes back inside the house where Grandfather Reeds has the book of the day ready to read. It's about a tortoise who wishes to go outside and play in the snow, but her parents think it's ridiculous because she should be hibernating. Seriously, take a shot every time ridiculous is mentioned. You'll be taking multiple trips to the bathroom.
Ridiculous. 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 Ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
After the book reading, Pedro finds Grandfather Reed's old toy horse sleigh, and we cut to a different location, the Early Works Constitution Village, where we learn about horseshoes.
We have here some real horseshoes, some new and some old and some very old ones.
Why are there so many different sizes?
Well, Pedro, because there's so many different size horses. Just like us, we all have different size feet.
Do horses have snowshoes?
Well, they do have special shoes. The horses are going to be out on the ice particularly. They have ridges on them so that those ridges can dig into the ice, you see, and give them a firmer step.
Really? An old village in Huntsville, Alabama, where horseshoes are being made. Man, in the final product, LeVar got to visit deserts, seeing coral reefs under the ocean, and even NASA headquarters and space camp. LeVar would never go to some village dressed in old clothing and seeing how things used to be made before modern technology.
Hi, Mary. And you should be proud of it, for quite a few people pay more for such wool that looks more hand-spun.
This is not easy at all.
And he never went to some lame old place like Huntsville, Alabama to do an episode of Reading Rainbow.
Well, at the National Space Camp for aspiring young astronauts in Huntsville, Alabama, kids have a chance to see firsthand what it's like to be an astronaut in training.
Seriously, no one in their right mind would go to Huntsville, Alabama for any reason. Nope, not whatsoever. The pilot wraps up with Pedro recommending more books with similar themes to snow and winter.
It's about a girl who really wants it to snow, but she is disappointed when she wakes up to find no snow. See what she and her friends did to create a fun snowstorm of their own. Another book you'll love to read is called Old M Speaks. It's full of great poems about trees. It even has some poems about trees in the winter time. Old Elm Speaks is published by Clarion Books. You know me, I'll take a good poem anytime. In fact, I think I'll read a few right now.
After this, we never see Pedro ever again throughout Reading Rainbow. And to be quite honest, I'm glad they made this change. Having kids on the show makes it more relatable to the audience and would encourage them to go to their local library or a Scholastic book fair to pick up the latest Goosebumps or Babysitter's Club book. Man, remember Scholastic book fairs? They were the best. It's too bad they don't do those anymore. Seriously, curse those Gen Z and Alpha kids with their smartphone devices. They killed off book reading forever. Shame on them. I can understand puppets in shows like Sesame Street, but Reading Rainbow? It feels out of place and doesn't treat its audience as serious as it should be. After all, kids are reading less and less every year as it is. I don't think a hand puppet would have encouraged them to crack a book when they got devices to play with. I'm glad they cut this character off in the final product. I'm also glad that we got LeVar Burton to be the host of Reading Rainbow. Seriously, who can relate to some old guy? We wanted to see Geordie LaForge to tell us to read Unique Monique.
In uncertain times, there's no more effective way to make your kids feel good and safe than to spend time with them. We at Reading Rainbow suggest sharing a book with your family. Read for fun, read for family, read for our future.
When looking at the original pilot, the potential was there, but it was super rough around the edges. All the elements such as the iconic theme song, LeVar Burton, the kids and celebrities recommending the books, and varied locations weren't here in the pilot. And it feels very off-putting. I'm glad they went back to the drawing board and gave it a massive overhaul and turned this show into a major classic. Seriously, don't watch the pilot. It's not recommended to go back and seek it out. I'm not even joking when I say this, but I had to look above and beyond to find this pilot. And I couldn't find it on the internet for the life of me. Not on Lost Media's website or on the Archive website. It was considered lost media for a very long time. But I recently got a package that had the hard drive with the pilot in there and a letter that I was told to read afterwards. So now that I finished reviewing the pilot, I'm going to read off the letter to see what it says. You gotta be kidding me.
Beware, beware, it's April Fool's Day, the day when nothing is quite as it seems, the day when the jokers all come out to play with their sneaky little schemes. Yes, they'll dash your hopes and dreams,
just like Hollywood.
Don't believe anything you read.
Don't believe anything you watch.
Some dolt thinking he's slick is the last thing you need. It's less fun than a kick in the crotch.